Hi, Gemini, and welcome to your 2023 astrology breakdown for 2023. My name is Shelley Overton. I'm an astrologer in Orlando, Florida, and I want to welcome you. We are going to go over the chart for New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, and we're going to set it up on the Gemini cusp. So that's Gemini rising, Sun, Moon, Venus, Mars, Saturn. I do all of them. I think that it's helpful if you have strong planets in Gemini, any of them, you can glean some information from this podcast. So we're also going to do an extended reading, and the extended reading is more of a breakdown of what's happening throughout the year. So January through December, and that will be over on my Patreon page. You're welcome to find the link down below. And let's get going. So Gemini on the horizon is about 2:48 p.m. Eastern time in Orlando, because that's where I'm at. And you've got a very strong aspect coming in the beginning of the year. And well, it isn't the beginning of the year. It's actually been going on for about 5 months. So Mars is in Gemini. And you probably know this if you follow astrology. Gemini, being your sign, brings out duality and multiple choices. Mars is our drive and the action we take towards career. I usually assign Mars as the engine to the career, where Saturn is the life purpose, and it shows us where our career is and what we're inclined to do for a career. Mars is the engine that drives us towards that career, wherever it falls in your chart. So having Mars in your first house means, of course, your identity, your ego, your sense of self is the motivating factor for career right now. That being said, Mars in Gemini means that you're going to have more than one choice. So you probably know this. And it also is the energy of communications and short distance travel. It can affect our vehicle. It can affect technology and appliances, including our phones. It affects our neighbors and the small animals that we have, pets, etc. Gemini, usually I assign to reptiles and small animals that are kind of cold-blooded animals, so snakes and geckos, things like that, frogs. I find that Gemini influenced people, or even Aquarian air signs, tend towards really enjoying the smaller reptilian animals. I personally do. I have Uranus not far from my sun, and my sun is a Gemini ruled sign of Virgo. So there's that energy there. Okay, so because Mars is retrograde, you've been feeling this for a couple months now, the feeling of not getting where you wanted to go, not being able to manifest things that you're thinking about. So, of course, Gemini is an energy around thought and analysis, and Mars is physical action. So, because you naturally gravitate towards that analytical side, you would think Mars in Gemini is going to make things manifest, which going direct it does very well. But retrograde means that now you're taken to task for things you have done and the way you have analyzed the energies and what you put into your actions. So the actions are kind of coming back in a way to kick you in the butt. And that can feel really sucky, honestly. And it's been that way for a couple months. But the good news is Mars goes direct January 12th, and that means that you're going to really feel a more positive flow of energy. Mars retrograde in Gemini in your first house means you've been feeling a bit beat up. Maybe people are more aggressive towards you, or you feel more irritated with people and how people speak, what they've written. It can really get to you. So that energy, it's kind of embedded and meshed in this chart for the new year, but it's also a positive thing after about 12 days. So a little bit into the year, you'll feel a shift and change, and that'll feel really good. And things will move forward again for you. And you'll have multiple choices, which you always do, but then you'll be able to more clearly discern between the two and the value of the two and make a decision after Mars goes direct. All right, so moving on to your second house, you have a couple of energies you can see in the chart here. They are Black Moon Lilith, which is the top one. It looks like a moon with a little plus sign on the bottom in Cancer, and then Pallas Athena in Cancer retrograde. Both energies are very strong feminine energies, the energy of Black Moon Lilith is more of a decisive energy that helps us really push towards more of a feminine receptive energy. So if there's something that's emotional that's in your life, you have a passion for it and are able to really move it forward. Pallas Athena is also a warrior goddess, and she is very feminine. In the sign of Cancer, both are really expressing the energy of mom and mothers and home and family. In your second house, it means that money may be coming through your activities, and maybe even more feminine assigned or labeled activities. Doesn't have to be a feminine activity, but things that are generally assigned to mother and around the house, domestic activities. The second house is very integrated in the domestic arts, I believe. I think that because it's an earth sign and it's attributed to aesthetics, it tends to bring in more of an interest in things like sewing or makeup or decorating, that kind of thing. And the Cancer energy really has our focus in the domestic environment and how to make money and how to be secure. So it is a real strong push for any Gemini rising sign and Gemini influenced people that there is a strong home energy associated with how you bring in money and what kind of environment you really enjoy in the monetary arena. In other words, are you more inclined to put yourself in a home environment or place where people are more like family, or do you want something more detached and more outdoorsy and, non-emotional? You're the former, you're the first one. And so you like it much more cozy of an environment. But with these energies in your second house, you're going to find that you have a stronger intention expressed with that. So Leo on the third, there are no planets transiting the third right now. The moon goes there 2.5 days every month. So during that time, you may find that the first day of moon in Leo, you're going to be very fortunate in money, bring in a lot of fortune financially, and it is a risk taker. So you also may have some focus on children. Leo in the third house of communication is romance, creativity, and children. And that means that you can express yourself in a more Leonine way, which is the third house is the expression and communication sign. Leo associates to children, but that may mean that you really attract children. Just yesterday, I came home and all the neighborhood children are off of school, and they always come up to me when they see me. I have Venus and Leo, and then they're just right there talking to me. And I find it really interesting because I'm not a young person and, my hair's kind of gray. And yet the children just come to me. And that's kind of the energy you have, especially with the Gemini rising or Gemini planets as well, because they're very youthful. And Gemini rules early childhood education and elementary education. So the combination of Gemini and Leo definitely brings an attraction of children or an attraction to children. You may even have a very youthful way of expressing yourself and lively, creative, whimsical hint there in your third house. So also in Leo time of year, which is late July, early August, you're going to find yourself much more social and people coming to you and you wanting to be more connected to people. It is a creative way of expression and a romantic way of expression. So you may really have a romantic heart with a Gemini rising. And then having Virgo on your house of home and family makes you a bit more particular around the home. You may be a neatnik. You may find, and especially with Cancer on the house of money and Virgo on the house of home and family, Virgo naturally rules work energy. And so it is a workaholic energy, but you don't have planets there. Well, in the chart here, if you have planets in Virgo in the house of home and family, you may find that that's also enhancing your work environment. You may find that you are more meticulous. Like I said, you keep lists, you like writing things down. You may even be more of an educator with your children. You're a really good parent if you do have the energy there and planets in Virgo. Also, because Mercury rules both Virgo and Gemini, whenever Mercury is affected, meaning retrograde, it will also affect your home life and your home environment. So this year we have 4 Mercury retrogrades. The first one is in Capricorn. The next one is in Taurus around May. Virgo. I'm a mental block. I'm a Virgo. I'm a mental block towards Virgo. So the last, well, no, the last Earth Mercury retrograde is in Virgo, which does fall in your house of home and family. That happens around October, September, October. And so you're going to find that that's going to be more focused on home and family. The first one at the beginning of the year is about commitment and legal issues, doing taxes, having systems in place, especially with a partner. And then the Taurus one around May is going to be more of the subconscious and issues around money and feeling comforted and secure around money. The final Mercury retrograde of the year falls in Sagittarius and retrogrades back into Capricorn briefly. And that will be marriage and partnership for you. So you're going to find there may be some travel associated with that partner. Of course, it's the end of the year. And so it's going to affect travel around Christmas time. Just know that at the beginning of the year. So if you can remember later on in the year, hey, we're going to start over because technology. Um, my computer would not process whatever was going on with Zoom. Mercury went retrograde last night, and we were talking about Mercury, so we blessed Mercury, and the mute button was on. So now we are fully recording. I hope everything is working properly. We'll continue on in your chart with what's going on in the 8th house. And the 8th house is Sun in Capricorn. This is all New Year's Eve again. I'm going to reiterate because I got cut off and it's been a couple hours since I was on. Sun in Capricorn at 11 degrees. Vulcan, which is the anomaly in the sky near Mercury, considered to be a planet by astrologers and maybe some astronomers. But that's the little symbol on the chart next to the sun. And it is not an actual planet, but it is an energetic anomaly scientifically up in the sky that has been assigned to the energy of Vulcan. So that's right there. That's in Capricorn retrograde. Mercury is 23 degrees Capricorn retrograde, Pluto at 27, and Venus at 28 degrees Capricorn. What we have is a stellium, and that means there's a cluster of planets in the sky. And in Capricorn, they can shoot like a laser over to the other side, and that triggers Cancer, the opposite sign. So while these planets are in Capricorn, you will feel a Capricornian trigger, which usually is the need to keep things organized, structured, organized and structured, and really responsible. And then as they are on the other side, as a stellium, again, when you have 4 or more planets in one sign, it manifests energy like the opposite side, which is Cancer. So we have Sun, which will, in Capricorn, Sun triggers a need to have things very restricted and structured, and you don't go outside the lines, so to speak. Rules are important, and energy can be really stoic. It's grounded energy. It's cold. You know, there's a lot of coldness coming in with Capricorn. Capricorn rules more cold weather. And so we saw this kind of deep freeze last week as we had all these planets coming into Capricorn. Mercury, now retrograde in Capricorn, is really showing us how our language needs to be more conservative, more literal. There is not a lot of room for flowery speech under Mercury retrograde. And so it also takes us to task for things that were said that are out of alignment, out of the rules, out of bounds, so to speak. Mercury was out of bounds for a while and now is back in bounds with the sun. And so what was not spoken about, or what was maybe said and we didn't necessarily think we would be taken to task for it, is now back in alignment, back in bounds. And as the retrograde continues, for the next 3 weeks, we will be taken to task for our speech, and things will be very literal and very accurate, responsible speech. Pluto now moving forward, heading towards Aquarius. He has 3 months to get into Aquarius. And for you, that means a shift of area of your life that's being affected. So while the planets are in Capricorn, the area of affectation is the 8th house, which is the Scorpio house, and Pluto rules the Scorpio house, which means that the time Pluto has been in Capricorn, he has also been in your personal 8th house, which is where he is naturally at home. With Pluto in Capricorn, it means that you have been shown where you maybe have taken too much fiscal responsibility for a partnership, and now it needs to be cooperative. Now both parties need to actually take ownership. And it is a deep psychological energy. So it also shows us where we may not have really valued ourselves because we believe others haven't valued us. And so that's the area you've been really working on since 2008. And as we wrap up this area, there will be a retrograde period this year for about 5 months where Pluto will have gone into Aquarius, then retrogrades back at 0 degrees Aquarius into Capricorn. And then while he's at the end degrees, the last couple degrees of Capricorn, it is this year and next year we will get this period to really wrap up the story, the old story about the past and the responsibility and the ownership and a sense of duty and loyalty from this energy. Venus at 28 Capricorn is also very engaged with wrapping up an old story. Venus is women. It can mean the elderly in your personal life, an elderly woman, a grandmother, or maybe a family friend. And it's going into Aquarius soon. When Venus goes into Aquarius, there will be a shift from that literal, responsible, feminine energy, mothers, or any female in your life who really kind of supports the rest of the people around, or maybe even if you're married, it could be you taking ownership of what's going on in that marriage, and you may feel like you're the only one doing all the work. So when Venus moves into Aquarius, she will basically sign her freedom papers. And that also means that if you've been going through any kind of legal issues, when Venus moves out of the 8th house, if it's a money, like a lawsuit, the money will flow freely and you will get what's coming to you. And so Venus in Aquarius this year, and she will go through many other signs too. And she does retrograde later in the year. So if you would like to know more about those kind of details, just check the extended readings below. It is on my Patreon site, and Patreon, you can get Patreon for as little as $1 to see the video. And I'll talk more about the transits of that energy. Venus going into Aquarius is going to be more, like I said, freedom loving. She changes her soul group and she may even move to a different place to do that. So Venus moves into the 9th house in your chart and in the Gemini energy, which means she wants to travel. She wants to have fun. She is very much about doing her own thing, not being told what to do. And so you will find that energy comes into your life for the duration of Venus in Aquarius, which is right around a month. She's going to really have you traveling and doing unusual things. Currently, my aunt and uncle are visiting Antarctica, and I just got pictures today of them. Maybe I'll post them on my podcast page on Instagram if you would like to check that out. Okay, Saturn in Aquarius, you've been feeling this for 2 years. There's only a few months left of Saturn in Aquarius because Saturn does go into Pisces this year in March and will not get back even by retrograde for another 28 years into Aquarius. Saturn in Aquarius is wrapping up a story about responsibility on behalf of technology. This is when cryptocurrency is being taken to task, and you can see that in the news. It's technology, anything that deals with science, technology, autonomy, independence, entrepreneurship. It is science, it is space and rockets, it's exploration of space, expansion of mind, clarity of mind, clutter clearing, wrapping up a story around having things organized. It is a really strong organizational energy, even though ironically, Aquarius itself has a bit of chaos and doesn't seem necessarily organized, but early degrees of Aquarius is definitely about organizing because Capricorn likes to organize and it manifests that organization when planets move into early Aquarius. It releases the idea of and the desire, the drive, the fire to organize and gets us going to actually do it. And then moving into your midheaven, which is your career. So Pisces is on your midheaven. That means that you are very creative. You are sentimental. You are deeply emotional and highly psychic and aware emotionally of energies around you. you can take on the energies around you. It is the energy of film and movies, especially old movies, and also videography or filming videos, anything where you would film something or put it on a means to retain it for future reference. Historical energy is under Pisces, and also wisdom and sage energy, meaning, wise sage or a wise person, shamans. Spiritual growth, spiritual expansion is under Pisces. And we have Vesta going through that house for you, which is home and hearth. And so there is a strong energy right now of working. Your chart just naturally lends itself to working out of the home using technology, because Gemini is about technology, Aquarius under science, the science energy, and that's your training house, your higher educational house, the ninth house. So it means that maybe you've been training for some kind of technological input for your career. And then when Saturn gets into Pisces and the planets in Pisces are stimulated, your career is very much engaged with some type of technological shift, but also psychic shift. And you're much more aware of intuition. You're much more wanting to hold yourself up and protect yourself psychically. I would recommend you do some kind of grounding energy. That would be walking in nature barefoot, hugging a tree, wearing bracelets like I do. I wear my bracelets for grounding and protection. That helps you. And then having Pisces in your house of career can mean a career in film or a career in entertainment or the arts, music specifically, or photography, poetry. All of these are under Pisces. Then we move into the 11th house, which is Jupiter in Aries and also Chiron in Aries right now. So this is the story around masculine energy, and it's how we express ourselves through self-promotion. For the 11th house, that is the Aquarian house. It means that there's a certain amount of eccentricity. Maybe you attract male energy associated with your career that is a little bit more eccentric. And anytime the planets go into that house for you, know that the people you associate with for your career or life purpose are going to be more men and more people of unusual backgrounds, people of unusual behavior, or just something unusual like an age difference or something like that. Jupiter in Aries is going to highlight an expansion, which is Jupiter, and spiritual growth around more self promotion, sales. It can mean Jupiter, especially in Aries, is sales of homes. So there is a strong incoming energy around potentially getting a license to sell homes, so a real estate license. That's Jupiter. Sales is Aries. And when Jupiter hits Chiron this year, and Chiron is going to keep moving forward, I don't know if Jupiter will actually catch up. I think it does. You can also check out that in the extended readings. I'll try and remember to specifically talk about that if it comes up. Jupiter and Chiron is the wounding. And so we're going to have some kind of male wounding, aggressiveness, or something related to race is also very strongly associated with Aries. Okay, yeah, so what does that mean for you? It means that you're going to be a little bit more independent this year in getting your business going, and you're going to come up with energy that associates mostly with men in your work environment, your career field. Finally, the 12th house, of course, the Pisces house, you have Taurus there. That's your natural ruler. And that means that what's on your mind a lot of times is money, how to make money, how to grow money, where am I putting my money, what's the investment of my money. And then, so you've got a number of different energies. Venus rules Taurus, Uranus is in that house, and Pisces is the ruler of the house. So Uranus, Pisces, Venus are about love, desire, money, growth, and getting in touch with your psychic awareness, and also channeling and understanding from the ethers about what to do next. So I would say for money in 2023, it's going to be an extremely intuitive endeavor for you. Even though I know crypto is going through its issues, when Saturn gets into Pisces, I got chills with that. Uranus goes direct the third week of January. And once it goes direct, it's going to loosen up some of the energy a bit. It will move into a square by general vicinity, it's not an exact square anymore. Saturn's moving out of Aquarius, but for a couple months, Saturn in late degrees of Aquarius and Uranus in late degrees or mid to late degrees of Taurus are squaring each other by energy. So there may be a little bit of friction still felt, but they're not going to be exact. And like I said, Saturn moves into Pisces. And once that happens, it's going to be much more of a cooperative energy, not only by desire, by vision for what you want with career, but also Pisces energy is very creative and artistic, as is Taurus. And Taurus is practical. So the Piscean Saturn in March, coupled with Taurus energy, is going to be a lot more cooperative for manifesting really great opportunities for artistic energy and artistic endeavors that will bring money. So with that, I will wrap up this breakdown for you and move on to our extended astrology for Gemini, and look for that also in Patreon. I'll put the link below. Thank you so much for joining me. Please don't forget to subscribe as well below so you can continue to follow along astrologically. All right, take care. Have a great 2023.
Hi, this is Shelley. Thank you for joining us this week. To contact me for a private reading, go to angeliczodiac.com under the Readings tab. To purchase my ebook, Learn Astrology, you can find it at angeliczodiac.com. Background music was provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. Be sure to check back next week and subscribe through iTunes at Astro Energy Astrology Show.